Alrighty, guys, what's going on? It is a stormy night across parts of Central Florida, and that's kind of where we're going to start and where we're going to end. So there's not going to be a lot of tropics talk tonight. It's going to be focused on this developing coastal storm because we already have our first flash flood warning of the evening. So I want to get right to that. This is going to be for Brevard County. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Again, Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos and myself are going to be watching this all through the night because we do have the likelihood of some flooding. And we have the flash flood warning is one of the higher ones you can get. You can go up to flash flood emergency, and hopefully we don't pop that because that means that there's really bad stuff going on. But a flash flood warning means that we do have flooding either happening or imminent. And where we have this dark green box here, thankfully the water, the rain is subsiding a little bit, but right over central Brevard County, from Cocoa and just north of Rockledge, Cocoa Beach were involved in this, parts of Merritt Island, Port Canaveral, Cape Canaveral. You see where it was all that dark red color with the thunderstorms. And thankfully, over the last couple of radar scans, we've shut off the heavy stuff. So I'm a little more optimistic than I was about 30 minutes ago when all of this stuff was coming down, because right in central Brevard County, we have picked up about 2 to 5 inches of rain in just a couple hour stretch since we were tracking it with you guys. And when it was developing at about 6 o'clock, give or take. So over the last few hours, we've been watching that. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go to our rainfall estimator, and over the last few hours, this is what the radar has estimated. About 3 inches of rain has come down in that 3 hour period. If we extend it out to the 6 hour period, and that's when we get closer to the 5 inch mark that the National Weather Service is reporting. Every now and then, you're going to see me glance down. I have a direct line to the National Weather Service where some storm reports come in from emergency managers and things like that. So just watching that to see if anything gets updated while we're on the stream. And of course, we'll have the latest about the flood threat for the overnight and into the first part of tomorrow coming up at 10 o'clock as well, and 11 o'clock on the news. So the one report I do have is a picture of from Florida Highway 3 and Skyline Boulevard in Merritt Island. It's underwater by a few inches and spilling onto adjacent parking lots. Thankfully, so far, no reports of any building inundation from that situation. So we are seeing a little bit of flooding in the roadways there. So that's flood threat number one. That is flood threat number one. Flood threat number two is going to, it's like one if by land, two if by sea. It's going to come both ways. First the rain and then the tides. The tides are pretty much going to be involved at the same time, but we're going to get all into that over the next little bit. I'm going to get to the actual show here, and I want to show you the difference. So right now, we're talking about the heavy rain that is falling. So this is a flood watch for Volusia and Brevard. It may be expanded a little bit depending upon where these heavy bands of rain set up through the overnight hours. So this flood watch remains in effect until 8 o'clock on Friday night. And what a flood watch means is that conditions are favorable for heavy rain that could lead to some flooding. So just because you're in a flood watch does not mean you're going to see flooding. It just means within that area, some portion of it could be susceptible to some flooding, could see some flooding. And again, we're already seeing that with the flash flood warning. We're just watching, we're just hanging out. But when you have a warning, that's whenever you need to take action. So this is the freshwater flood threat. This is from the sky. This is from the rainfall. We have a saltwater flood threat too that I will get to in just 1 second. But I do want to show you this, and I think Future Radar has been doing a pretty nice job tonight. I'll have the latest update on this, and I'm very interested to see how this materializes overnight. But it's going to be this steady stream of rain that comes in off of the coast due to our developing coastal system. So there's 4 o'clock on your Friday morning. Things look a little rough as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow. Again, it's not everywhere. I-75, you might be wondering, what is he talking about? Just like over the weekend where there was hardly any rainfall west of Orlando. Most of it was kind of just southeast of I-4. So that is the deal with some of that heavy rain coming through. That'll continue through about lunchtime tomorrow, and then I think we're gonna watch that subside a little bit. There will be a few stray downpours. Some of those downpours could be heavy along the coast through the remainder of the evening. That's why the flood watch remains in effect until um that's why the flood watch remains in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. Then, as we get into Saturday morning, that's when we really change the weather pattern up big time. That's when we get our first real taste of fall as we move into Saturday afternoon and then especially Sunday into the week ahead. The best weather week of the season, no doubt. The best weather week we have had since May, maybe, is coming our way once we get to Sunday. With that said, even with the sunshine, we're still talking about flooding along the coast. So, this is important to note that coastal flooding is saltwater flooding. Um, the flood watch that I showed you is the freshwater flood potential. So I know it's confusing, but it's kind of coming at both sides. So this coastal flood warning that we have, this is for the likelihood of significant coastal flooding. So that is because of the king tides that we talked about. So we have king tides out there that is making the astronomical high tide higher than what they typically are anyway. Now we have this developing coastal system that is going to push the Atlantic in further. So high tide is the tide that we are obviously most concerned about. Um, However, we're expecting this to be a little more significant than the coastal flooding that we've seen over the past couple of days. If I have anybody, um, if I have anybody tuning in from uh, right along the coast and have seen some minor flooding during this week where we've been under that coastal flood advisory, meaning that, yeah, some minor flooding is possible. We're expecting the tide to come in about another half a foot to a foot. So, just for some perspective there, if your home or business or anything was close to flooding this week, it has a much better potential, unfortunately, to flood as we move into tomorrow morning, first up at 11 o'clock as we get towards high tide. And then I think the 11 o'clock high tide PM tomorrow is bad. And then all the way through Sunday morning. And I mention that because it's going to be sunny out. This type of flooding is not brought on by the rain, it's brought on by the tides. So this is the Atlantic Ocean coming in higher than what it typically does. And forget about the beach erosion. It's going to be significant as well. So a lot of different things going on. This also has a play in the St. Johns River. We are going to talk about that part and really break down this coastal flood threat a little bit further. We'll revisit that flash flood warning that is currently ongoing in Brevard County. So watching that for around Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island very closely. We're going to talk about that coming up in just about 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We have a wet night and a stormy night for some of Central Florida. Hot off the press, a flood advisory. That's the lower of the two between advisory and flash flood warning. Was just issued for parts of Volusia County, Seminole County, and we will check up on that in just 1 second. Melissa, to answer your question, you are under a flood watch. The coast of Volusia County is under a coastal flood warning. So this is the warning that Volusia County is under, and that is for the Atlantic Ocean being pushed in. So if you're anywhere near the ocean, if you're anywhere near the barrier islands, if you're anywhere near the inlets that are susceptible to water rise from the Atlantic, that's what the flood warning that you're referring to is about. So that is all to do with the tidal rise, not from the rain. You can still certainly get some flooding because you have the flood watch in play, as we talked about earlier. But the flood warning for Volusia County is the coastal flood advisory. That's the one that we're watching closely for high tide going forward as the easterly wind pushes in the Atlantic, combined with the higher than normal tides brought on by the gravitational pull of the moon. Okay, so I want to get you to the latest advisory now. This just popped in. So the show is a little bit different tonight because we do have some very active weather, some breaking weather tonight with the flash flood warning and now the flood advisory in play. This is going to be, let me go to the radar first. This flood advisory goes until 12:45 in the morning because of this kind of nasty band. Again, we're not talking about severe weather, but we're talking about very heavy rainfall. So you see there that the band continues to just kind of come in from the northeast to the southwest, pretty much right on through Mims, Titusville, Scottsmore, Oak Hill, Oviedo, we're underneath that, all the way even to Winter Park. So the advisory, you see that green kind of polygon pop up. That's where the flood advisory rolls until 12:45 tonight. Let's do some work here. Over the last 3 hours where this thing has really been picking up, and let me stop this loop so we can actually do some inspecting here. We'll use our dabber, and again, over the last 3 hours, we've picked up about 2 to 3 inches of rain. So the rain has been falling about an inch per hour. So that certainly could lead to some flooding. Same deal, a little bit to a lesser degree on the southern end of Oak Hill, closer to Scottsmore and Mims, about an inch or two, give or take. Oviedo, about an inch. These are all radar estimates. You might have more in your backyard if you have measured, if you have a rain gauge. Please let me know what you saw. Again, when you can do so safely, I wouldn't recommend going outside right now to look at the rain gauge if you have one, because we do have, I kept the lightning strikes on there for a reason, because we do have lightning involved, and I don't want anybody getting struck by lightning. So that is the deal with this kind of these two bands that we're watching. The other one now, the heaviest rain is, let's put this into motion over the last hour. This one's kind of sliding down the coast, but you see that kind of push in a little bit. So I'm going to be watching this band for the overnight and really around, I would say, from Micco to Satellite Beach to Melbourne, Palm Bay. If I have anybody tuning in there, that's where I'll be watching, because it looks like it's going to try to curl back in a little bit. And it's this steady stream. And that's one of the things that some of the high resolution model guidance started to latch onto. And that is very helpful in picking out these kind of fire hoses, if you will, right off the Atlantic. Let me see here. Go back to the Melbourne radar. See if we have a water spout way out there. It's too far away to really tell. Looked like it was hooking. I was just curious, but it does not look like that. Hey, Julie Jules says, we live in a flood-prone area just south of Palm Bay and Fellsmere. Do you happen to have any rainfall estimates for rainfall in the area over the next 24 hours? I do. And I don't know if you're going to be around for the 10 o'clock because we'll have the brand new model updates coming in by about 10:30 if you stay on this YouTube channel, or if you have New 6 Plus, we'll be live on New 6 Plus as well. And again, the new model data comes in shortly after 10. I'm going to ingest that. It's brand spanking new and fresh. But I will show you what was it's a little aggressive, but I mean it's been kind of spot on. Let me get to the so I think it's a little hot. Like I think I don't foresee maybe 9 inches. This is what the high resolution guidance would suggest. It has been kind of right so far in Cocoa Beach. It's trying to kind of forecast that band to go through. So I wouldn't freak out by looking at 9.2 inches in the Melbourne Palm Bay area. It's just guidance, not gospel. But what this says to us is that we likely will have some more heavy rain coming in tonight. And let's just check out what it's doing on the timeline. So, okay, so here's where it's kind of matching up. And again, while I think that that might be a little bit too high of a number, I think we could end up picking up kind of like what we just saw toward Cocoa Beach into that 4, 5, 6 inch range because of I think it's catching on to this thing out here. Because if you follow the motion over the last hour, we're kind of watching everything fire out here with kind of a jog down into that direction. So that's what I'm watching really through the overnight. And then as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow. Um, and again, that's the freshwater side of this. The saltwater side really picks up with the first high tide cycle tomorrow, which is about 11 o'clock in the morning. And then again, near 11 o'clock at night. So late morning, late evening, that's where I'm concerned with the tidal flooding coming in off the Atlantic. All right, I have to get one more break in. Again, Jules, thank you for the question. Thank you for watching tonight. Again, New 6 Plus, we're going to go over this in a lot more detail tonight because I'm going to have brand spanking new high-resolution model data to show, and I'm very interested to see it because if it's catching on in that band kind of drifting south and it's still spitting out 6+ inches of rain, then we're certainly going to have the potential for some flooding overnight in early tomorrow morning that we need to be aware of. So something I'm watching closely, but we're going to go over that at 10 o'clock. I have to get a quick break in. Can't do the Q&A session tonight because I am right off the top. Obviously, we had a little bit tonight going forward, but it was a little more of a down to business kind of show tonight because I wanted to let everybody know about the rain coming in. Again, got to get a short break in. I'll be back and we'll have like about a minute or two to chat before I have to go get ready for the 10 o'clock news. Thanks a ton for being here, guys. I appreciate it. Hope everybody's doing well and hope everybody's staying dry on a Thursday. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna end that countdown there. We might see some things going on. We have about a minute left. Just wanted to, we had some about Jensen Beach. We had a live look at Jensen Beach earlier. Let me turn on the rainfall over the past 12 hours. Pretty much anybody, and here we have some of the other heavy rain closer to Juno Beach, Hobe Sound, Palm City, West Palm Beach as well. Is there a water spout down there today? Oh, rip current. Okay. Yikes. Wouldn't recommend going to the water this weekend either. It's going to be nice, but I would not recommend getting in the water for sure because that rip current risk is going to be through the roof tonight and for the next really couple of days. So thank you for that report from Jensen Beach. And there's likely more coming. Dominic, I am so sorry I could not get to your question. Maybe we'll be able to get to it tomorrow night if you come here. No, I don't think it's the complete end just because the cold fronts don't shut down the Caribbean, unfortunately. It shuts down the eastern seaboard, but it doesn't shut down the Caribbean. So I've long maintained if we can get beyond October 21st to 24th, I'll be happy. Alrighty, guys, I have to get ready for the 10 o'clock show. If you are watching on News 6 Plus, you know the drill. Keep it parked right there. We're going to have the latest on the flash flood warnings that are out. The flash flood advisories are out. The coastal flood warnings that are out. There are a lot of different types of flood hazards over the next couple of days in specific locations. Some places are going to be bone dry. Some places are going to get a lot of rain. I will show you exactly where the best opportunity for the heavy rain versus the dry weather is going to be coming up in just about 3 minutes. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for some of the storm reports that you provided tonight. I will catch you back here again tomorrow night or at 9:30. Better yet, how about in a couple of minutes? News 6 at 10 on News 6 Plus and on clickorlando.com and right here on the News 6 YouTube channel as well. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night.